So, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. As you probably know by now, my name is Richard Taylor, and I'm coming back with a follow up video concerning the death of one Josh Keating on February the 22nd, 2022, in which his body was found. On the last video, I detailed some of the circumstances surrounding his death, a lot of the players that his family and many others suspect that may have been complicit in his death. And I just went through a lot of the information that his mother has sent me, uh, basically outlining her concerns with the death of Josh, which is her son. Now, today we're going to focus on the investigation and how the family feels that not all the leads were exhausted, that detectives didn't put forth the best effort. The Wayne County Sheriff Office pretty much just brushed them off. Now, I must say that since I did the video, a lot of people have reached out to me, thanking me for doing the video and providing information that almost corroborates the mothers and some of the stories that I talked about in the first video. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read verbatim a statement that the mother wanted me to read concerning how they were treated in the investigation. And I'm going to try my best to keep my commentary to a minimum because I don't want to say anything that the mother does not want to be said in this video. So I'm going to try to read it without commentating, but also, once again, we know that the Wayne County Sheriff Office is under scrutiny right now with the arrest of two of its major deputies, Michael Cox and Michael Cox and Chris Worth, as well as some investigation by Charles Schaefer and many other deputies. So I'm going to read this verbatim real quick, and if you will, stay with me. Hopefully, once again, this will provide some details about why the family feels that their relative, the loved one death, was not investigated to the fullest. And as I stated, I want to start on February the 22nd, 2022. And this is the mother's words, the family's words. We were notified Josh had been found, and we were told he died by hanging himself. On February 23rd, 2022, we met with the funeral home and made arrangements to lay Josh to rest. We asked the funeral home director if we would be able to see Josh, and he said yes, because for someone who had been outside for 9 days, he looked remarkably well. We felt that was odd, but really didn't think anything about it. On 2/25/22, we laid Josh to rest. On 2/25 and 2/26, which is actually my birthday, side note, Ashley began posting messages to Facebook saying Brad and his friends were covering up the truth to Josh's death. People were sending screenshots of the messages she was posting. Soon, our daughter and Ashley began exchanging messages. Ashley even went so far as to attempt to contact two lawyers where my daughter worked because, as she said, she wanted to get the truth out there. Ashley posted one message saying on Tuesday at lunch they were still talking about putting him in a hog box to get rid of him. Was she talking about on Tuesday the 15th? Because from what we were told by the cops, they weren't notified till around 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, February the 22nd, 2022. So how or why would they still be talking about it at lunch on February the 22nd? In one of the messages Ashley posted, she said they got into his phone. On March 8th, we met with the Wayne County Sheriff Office, specifically Detective Scott Moheiser, and Johnson, to discuss all of these things we have been told by Ashley, and to get more details for ourselves to put our minds at ease. At the beginning of the meeting, we told the detectives we didn't want any details of Josh's body or his condition. We brought Ashley up numerous times and tried to show them the messages, but Moheiser made it a point to tell us Ashley was unreliable and could not be believed. He said this happens all the time. Someone in these groups dies and the chatter starts. He said you can't believe a word these people say. We asked questions about the circumstances leading up to the discovery of Josh's body. They told us 3 people found the body. We asked if they talked to them and they said yes. If not mistaken, we were told one of them, Brad, pled the fifth and wouldn't talk. They said one gave a statement and one couldn't talk because they were high. Every time we tried to ask Moheiser questions, he continually interrupted us. He was abrasive, rude, and condescending, and basically treated us like we were criminals. Not a family there to talk about concerns we had. When Moheiser was asked how he knew it was a suicide, he became upset and said he knew what a suicide was. Then when we made the statement, maybe we just need to hire a private investigator, he got really upset. And that is when he said, a bee flew out of his mouth, is how I know. We knew at that point that we weren't going to get really anywhere with this meeting. Also during the meeting, we were told Josh had sent Miranda, his girlfriend at the time, a text saying he would be hanging from trees. Johnson said he saw this on Miranda's phone in a text exchange between them. Also, Moheiser told us there was roughly a 45-minute delay from the time Josh's body was supposedly found until law enforcement was notified. When we asked about the delay, he said they were probably just cleaning up their drug stuff and stolen parts, and basically he seemed like this was perfectly okay. Moheiser did tell us if anything comes up or we get more information to let them know and they would investigate or look into it. Page 2. As part of the meeting, we did ask Moheiser and Johnson to speak with Ashley. Ashley had communicated with my daughter. She would only speak to certain law enforcement as she didn't trust them. As we were told, the 2 detectives who did go were very heavy-handed and Ashley wouldn't go with them or talk with them. The next time a deputy who went to get her to bring her so she could give a statement, Brad had showed up prior to them arriving and said when he was finished eating pizza, they would be going down to give a statement. According to Johnson, they showed up and Ashley said she made the whole thing up and Brad only said there was a fight. Our daughter met with Sheriff Pierce, Johnson, Worth, and the detective who used to teach criminal investigation and expressed her concerns about the investigation as well as Moheiser's attitude and treatment of us during our meeting with him and Johnson. Sheriff Pierce said we shouldn't have been talked to like that and gave his word that if something new came along, they would investigate it. Our daughter also stated that she didn't appreciate that Johnson was lying about what he knew or didn't know, that if he didn't know, it was much better to say I don't know than to lie. Our daughter had also told him about 2 calls that had been made to Josh's phone on the morning of 2/13 from the 911 dispatch. We got a copy of Josh's phone records, is how we knew about this. Pierce said they weren't aware of any calls being made to Josh from the call center. She talked to him about a lack of protocol being followed and not exhausting all leads, lack of communication throughout the investigation, and lack of professionalism. The manner in which Josh supposedly hung himself was also brought into question, and Pierce told my daughter the way it was done was how the military does it. So Pierce wants us to believe Josh tied a rope off of a tree, threw it over the branch of another tree, and then hung himself, kneeling because the military does it that way. How about this is set up more like a fulcrum used to pull someone up? For the next few months, we would get various bits of information from people saying Josh didn't kill himself. There was a fight. They had put him in a freezer and were going to put him in a hog box. Most of all this we forwarded to Detective Johnson. To date, Johnson has not communicated anything back to us of whether he spoke to any of these people or not. One of the things we forwarded to him was the name of a person who has a voice recording of Bradley talking about how he choked Josh out. Again, Johnson never bothered to contact us back. No communication from him whatsoever. Again, Johnson never bothered to contact us back. According to the person who has the recording, Johnson told them this wasn't an episode of CSI and we weren't going to solve a crime. We have been told Josh was killed and put in a freezer while they were trying to figure out what to do with him. We have been told that they were going to put him in a hog box to dispose of him. When we received Josh's phone from law enforcement, the brightness was so low you could barely see the screen, and the screen was broken so bad it was highly doubtful the phone could even be used. Johnson told us that even though Miranda had provided them with the pattern for the phone, they couldn't get it open and were unable to do a cell bright download of the phone. We had the screen replaced in February of 2022. In May of 2022, we were able to get Josh's phone unlocked. It was the pattern told to us by the detective, but Josh was left-handed, so to most people it was backward of what they were thinking. Of significant note, his phone was in airplane mode, the volume had been turned down, and the screen brightness had been turned down. We found the text messages between Josh and Miranda. Nowhere in there did Josh say he would be hanging from trees. "Come save me" was his last message. But remember, Miranda provided the code and knew how to get into his phone. We provided the phone to forensics, not local, and got a cell bright download of his phone. We talked with Johnson and asked him where did the statement he would be hanging from trees come from. He said it was in a text exchange between Josh and Miranda that Miranda showed to him. We told him that wasn't in the text message between Josh and Miranda, that we had the phone open and have read all the messages. There is a lie Johnson has told, and this lie even became a matter of fact in a report of investigation by medical examiner conducted by Jessica Taylor. The report of investigation by medical examiner raised even more questions once we received it. Now, mind you, this is the official record of investigation and manner of death. On the report, it says his body is warm. Rigor is level 1, and there is no livor. Livor is blood pooling in the extremities after death. She did note his fish tattoo on his lower leg, so how is it that no livor was noted? Per the chief medical examiner's office in Raleigh, the doctor we spoke to said he was on his knees, as did Jessica Taylor. If he was on his knees at the time of death, blood should have pooled in his lower extremities. The doctor said she didn't see nude pictures of his body, but would expect there should be some pooling. Also, she said she never put her hands on him. If he had been outside for 9 days, last known date to be alive was 2/13, he probably should have had some bug bites, animal bites, and more decomposition than just on his fingertips, as was noted on the official report. We spoke with Jessica Taylor and questioned pretty much every aspect of her investigation. One thing she did state was, you cannot tell if he was hung while alive or after death. She said it was possible it could have been staged. She said his left hand was raised in the air approximately sternum high. We asked if she did a complete and thorough examination. She said yes. I said, if that is the case, did you find a $half size hemangioma on his head that had been there since he was born? She said that she did not. One of the things we were told by Brad was Josh had been hit and then hit his head. Brad said there was blood in the living room, so if Jessica Taylor didn't find the hemangioma, how confident can we be that she didn't find any injury to his head? After our conversation with Jessica, we had even more questions and more suspicions, and that is when we began to contact the chief medical examiner's office in Raleigh. We spoke with one of the doctors at the chief medical examiner's office, and she basically did her best to refute everything Jessica Taylor told us, especially when it comes to why his hand was in the air. She said it was against the tree. One major question we have is, why wasn't Josh's body sent to Raleigh for a full autopsy, since others found outside in Wayne County were? Miranda talked to us and said that Bradley called her and said, "I found Josh." She went over to his house, but Bradley wouldn't let anyone go back to him. Moheiser showed up at some point, and Miranda told us that him and Bradley went back to Josh and were gone for approximately 20 minutes. So, what exactly were Moheiser and Bradley doing back there? Why would law enforcement take a civilian to a potential crime scene? Miranda also told us that on the night of February the 13th, 2022, she said she walked the path looking for Josh and he was not there. She said she went and got Bradley to help her look and that he wasn't there, but Bradley was walking and said there's a noose laying in the path. Miranda said she knows that the noose wasn't there when she walked in the path a few minutes earlier. Miranda texted Josh on February the 13th after his last text message and said, "Yeah, you think you're pretty slick leaving with Frankie." Also, Bradley texted Josh after 12 a.m. on February 14th, "Yo, where y'all at with my car? Was there a car on the path? Did Josh leave with someone?" I bet the cell bright download and cell phone pings and locations can tell you a lot. Fast forward to today, and now you have Brad telling the same story that Ashley did more than a year and a half ago. So since Ashley wasn't there, one can only assume Brad is the one who told her all of what she was posting back in February 2022. He stated he told her in case something happened, but he never thought she would tell it on Facebook. Did Brad go to law enforcement and talk to them with all of this information? Brad stated in messages Josh was killed, that he was told this out of Bradley's own mouth 3 days after his body was found. Bradley told Rita and him that there was a fight and he was hit in the head. Also, one of the pictures Ashley sent to my daughter in 2022 was a knife, and she stated this was the knife used to cut the rope and tie several nooses. Brad said in his messages that when they went into the house, Rita and him noted many nooses laying on the end table next to the Bible with an open knife. Rita told Bradley, "You need to get rid of them." This is all conversation before any law was called. Also, the discussion of the hog box. Remember, Moheiser and Johnson was okay with the time delay. Supposedly, Brad wanted to clear his conscience and that no one was going to put him in a hog box. He said Josh was a veteran and deserved better. I asked him what's a hall box, and he stated that I would have never seen my son's body again. I have several messages from him and Rita. I have a long recording of Miranda, not to mention others involved. One thing both Rita and Brad pointed out was neither were ever brought in for questioning, that they had left prior to the law enforcement showing up. Miranda also stated that they had left. Bradley has told several people he was the one who found Josh. One of them in the text, he said he found him on the 14th. How can that be? So how can that be? Excuse me. So Brad texts a person and says he is the one who found him on Monday. This person says Monday, like yesterday, or Monday last week. And he says last week, which would be the 14th. So who found Josh? Bradley or three people driving down a path? He has mentioned that statement he found him to several who reached out. We sent another email to Johnson stating that. We also asked for a copy of the report of his death. That's when we got the certified letter from Sheriff Pierce basically telling us to go through the department's lawyer from now on. If we want a copy, we need to get a lawyer for our family. When we talked to Rita and Brad, we had already received the letter from Sheriff Pierce. We had to contact their lawyer to tell him Brad has told us things and we need to tell them or show them the messages. He said he would call us back. He never bothered to contact us again. We wrote a letter to the DA and judge in Goldsboro to explain the details of the messages. So I accused the people involved in finding our son's body of covering things up. Apparently, Sheriff Pierce took this the wrong way, as if I was accusing the detectives of covering something up. Of note, Many people have told us Bradley and Miranda are informants for the sheriff department, specifically Moheiser and Schaefer, respectively. And we have also been told Rita and Moheiser are related and that Moheiser and Worth are related. We personally haven't been able to verify that yet. All we ever asked for was a full investigation, and we don't feel like we got it. Now we want a full investigation, but with none of the detectives who have been involved with this up until this point. A full investigation by an outside agency is what is needed. As we all know, there are current and former members of this sheriff's department under investigation and actively being arrested, one of which was at the scene on the 22nd and one who was in the meeting with our daughter. It begs the question, how deep does the corruption run in this department? So this is about as condensed as we can make this. A lot of names have been left out. A lot of hearsay has been left out, but it's got the significant points. And that is when the family ends this correspondence. So basically what they did was take you on a timeline of how they tried to provide information and leads to the detectives, but those leads went uninvestigated. So, and as I said, if you watch the first video, I went into the details of the relationships between some of the names that you heard: Bradley, Rita, Brad, Sabrina, Ashley, Miranda, all of those people who ran in that same circle. I don't know any of them. I'm just hearing a lot of things. And a lot of people have been reaching out to me, sending me messages, sending me information. I think a young lady called me the other day, and she was like, yes, Moheiser, Brandy Moheiser is also married to Chris Worth, the same Chris Worth who was just arrested for corruption. So, once again, as I always say, birds of a feather flock together. But I do want to read this because I received this message today from an anonymous person. This message reads, Mr. Taylor, first allow me to say thank you so much for getting the story of Josh Keating out for the public to hear and hopefully put more pressure on Wayne County Sheriff's Office. I'm not going to give my name, as I too used to be in the streets and an addict for many years. I have been clean now for 12 years. I knew Josh and his friends personally since Josh was a kid. He grew up with my kids. Josh was a good person, but war changed him. He turned to the drugs in order to self-medicate. His family loved him and wanted what was best for him. They did not approve of the drugs, but they never stopped loving him. Matter of fact, another reason I know Josh did not commit suicide is because he was looking forward to his birthday, 2 days after his body was quote-unquote found, as his mom was giving him a camper, having it set up, and giving him a vehicle. He was so looking forward to having his own place. The VA has a program that was going to help with it all. During my years of addiction, I also had dealing with Cox, Worth, Schaefer, and several more Wayne County deputies. It's about time that investigations of certain deputies are finally going somewhere. I don't understand why Schaefer has yet to be charged, as he has been crooked from day one. He took payments to look over certain dealers' activities. He has taken meth labs, yet never arrested the cook. Said it was his lucky day. He would make charges disappear for sexual favors, have bonds lowered for sexual favors. It said from another deputy that Schaefer has also helped cover up a murder, get rid of the body. Is this what it means to protect and serve? I don't think so. Yet no charges as of yet on Schaefer. There are so many that have retired or left the department that were just as dirty as the previously mentioned deputies. Hope the FBI will continue investigating officers from Wayne County. Now back to the Keating situation. Bradley shot at Josh and caused him to wreck. And lo and behold, the entire ACE team shows up. Is that how you treat a friend or a brother? Rita, Bradley's baby mama, is scared to death of him. She says he beat her many times. Many females have stated how abusive he is. Bradley was seen not very long ago dropping off a boat, a trailer. He was trying to get to the river in the with in to get to the river within the highway. He had to find someone to help him and then proceeded to take it to the river to in order to get rid of it, sunk it in the river, not far from his home. There was also a trailer he had got rid of. Now Moheiser is over stolen goods and Bradley recovers many stolen goods items until he does the stealing. Now he has the pending charges, but always seems to never receive any kind of punishment. There are numerous drug users around that area of Grantham that always seem to walk away from charges with a slap on the wrist. Bradley, Miranda, Brad, Rita, and all the others need to be held accountable for a change. Bradley has told some people Josh haunts him. He makes all kinds of noises in the house. Even said Josh was being his same punk A self in a text. The citizens of Wayne County deserve to know what kind of people they have around them and what kind of officers they have to depend on to protect and to bring justice to the criminals as they swore to do. Rick Farfer, Tim Effler, Chuck Schaefer, Mike Cox, Chris Worth are just a few that are known to be corrupt. Take them all down. And yes, Chris Worth is married to Moheiser's sister, Brandy. There are several deaths that have been not been handled properly. The corruption doesn't stop with the deputies. Judges, DAs, lawyers are all corrupt. Wayne County is the worst county in North Carolina to live in. I pray that God leads the FBI to uncover every one of the wrongs done by our law enforcement. I could go on, but work is calling. Thank you and God bless you, my brother. And I just wanted to read that because that was very detailed today. And as I mentioned, that's just one of the several messages that I've received. And even on the first video, there's a couple of comments. I'm gonna read this one because this speaks to once again the shabbiness of the investigation. And this is probably going to be the last comment. But this one says, everyone who knew Josh knows he did not commit suicide. I've known Josh since he was a kid. I don't know how these people sleep at night knowing this man lost his life at their hands. Maybe it was just one set of hands that actually killed him, but everyone that helped cover it up are just as guilty in my opinion. I don't know any of these people, but I know there is not the first one of them mentioned in the video that I've ever heard of a good thing about. Thank you for taking this story and making it public. Wayne County deputies are being charged or investigated and going down over corruption in the department. Well, there's a lot of corruption in this so-called investigation into a death. Law enforcement helping cover it up, making the decision to rule it suicide. If it were, why was every one of the ones involved or there reached out? Why has every one of the ones involved or there reached out to Josh Moms other than the property owner? The way the property owner spoke to Josh Mom shows that he has no respect, no morals, and no heart. Yet he calls Josh his brother. Do you shoot at all your brothers? I pray that God will allow the hard, cold facts to come out in order to give the family some closure. This officer that met with the family and treated them as crooks, I pray that during the investigation by the FBI, they take his crooked self down also. They say addicts are going to talk, but can't be trusted. Then why are these same people trustworthy when they are returning stolen goods for the department or telling on their drug dealers? How are they all of a sudden a reliable informant? Read the messages, listen to the recording, talk to the ones that know so much. Do your job, Wayne County Sheriff Office. You took an oath to protect and serve the public, not just the addicts that do your jobs for you. Make Wayne County safe again. Get rid of the corrupt people in law enforcement now and start fresh, top the bottom. Mr. Taylor, please put more of the story out there. Let everyone know this family will not give up until they get answers. Put them away and throw away the keys. They took Josh's life. The law should take theirs from them instead of covering up a murder. This family needs to know the truth, and the officer who ruled suicide needs to go down with them. He was part of it all. What happened to a coroner ruling cause of death? What happened to autopsies? We'd love to hear your comments or answers. And that's one thing, that just speaks of corruption and cover up, for someone to just rule it a suicide without an autopsy. 2 days and the way the family was treated. There's so much to this, but I'm just going to leave it there because the family just wanted that statement read, and hopefully they're going to send that statement to the FBI so we can get an outside voice involved in this situation. But we're going to keep you up to date on this story as well as many other stories regarding the corruption in the Wayne County. If you haven't seen the video on the Mike Cox or Charles Schaefer, go back and watch that because I give some details of their activities as well. But rest in peace to Josh Keating. We're going to continue providing information. Hopefully that someone would take light and take notice of this and reopen that investigation into his death. Peace and love. Y'all have a blessed day.